they're doing good, and then something happens, they get married, and then that was an epilogue. Did I read it? Yeah. I think that I want to see a Netflix series. Saw the movie, it absolutely sucked. Okay, what's up you guys? Welcome to another video, or welcome to my channel. This is gonna be a 2022 books that I read in 2022, and then this is also gonna be a January TBR. These are not in the order that I read them, it's just the order that I least enjoyed them to the book that I mostly enjoyed. Let's get started. The book that I enjoyed the least would have to be Magpie by Elizabeth Day. What I didn't like about Jake's character was that he was pretty static throughout the book. Like, I was waiting for his character to shift. Like, I thought something was gonna happen with his character, just like something happened with Kate's and Marissa. Kate had an interpretation of him in her head. It ended up being true. It's kind of like, oh, he's the innocent one. And I mean, I guess that can be the plot. Because of the buildup, I thought that Jake's character was gonna be all not what it seemed. And I think this was also the most expensive book. Coming in second place, well, second to last place, I read Circe by Madeline Miller. I can't remember what I thought was repetitive, but I just remember like feeling that probably the way that they described Circe, the way that the author like was describing her, was probably what I found repetitive. But I think also it keeps the magic in the book. Had I read more books, I wouldn't have put this one next to Magpie. I was able to feel like I was on an island with tigers. Third to least, third to last would have to be Perfume. I actually like this book. I think I remember saying that on here. I don't remember if I said it on here on Instagram. 2/3 of the book I would have gave it a 2 out of 5 stars, but finishing the book I gave it a solid 4.5 stars. Basically just follow this murderer's life from the day that he's born to the day that he dies. Twisted because you don't want to feel for this character because he's a murderer, but at the same time, the ending of the book for me, I didn't fully understand his character. I almost felt bad that I didn't understand his character because of his like inner conflict. He spent his whole life trying to come up with this scent, and then he does, and then it's not everything what he hoped for, and he realizes that, well, he doesn't even want to please humanity if he doesn't even like humanity. It left me thinking, and it still does. This one I read not so long ago. I think that for me there was probably too much spice in it. Their intimacy could have been expressed by the author without it being sexual. This one, it hurt. It's a good book to read to get insight on domestic violence. A lot of the times people ask the question, well, why don't the women leave? Clearly we can also be asking the question, why do men hit the women? I'm not gonna lie, I was one of those people that after reading this book, not anymore, but one of those people that didn't quite understand why the people who are being abused in a relationship, why do they stay? You know, not only women but also men. The Institute by Stephen King. This one is actually a pretty thick book. I wasn't gonna get this. The only reason why I got it was because I was in Barnes & Noble and I heard this guy explaining this book to another girl, and so I was sitting down. I wasn't just listening to them. If you want to get into like horror, if you want to get into like thriller books, this one was a really good book to get into. It's basically about these kids that get abducted and they get on this train and they're being tested for like these supernatural abilities, relationships that he forms with the other kids, how these other kids, you know, even though they're little, they are like, you know, they have all these abilities. One of them is really smart, smarter than most adults. Another one is like, one of them is like strong. I don't remember. I remember just reading this book. It felt like I was watching a movie. And then from there, we have, actually, as I'm going through these books, maybe some of these aren't in the right order. I just saw one of the Christmas books that I read, and I didn't enjoy that one more than I enjoyed some of these. Honestly, at this point, scratch the list. The only thing that's true to what I said was Magpie. This was the worst book that I read in 2022. I read The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I think that I want to see a Netflix series, 8 episodes, an hour each. I felt like I was in the 60s reading this. The characters are not one-dimensional. How layered these characters are, they're realistic. I was able to connect to the reality of it. As the book progressed, it only got sadder and better. So, yeah. Then it was this is a Christmas book, Meet Me Under the Mistletoe. This is the only book that I read, and that I read pretty recently for Christmas. Pretty predictable, and that's probably because I've seen some Netflix documentaries. I've seen some Netflix shows about, like, you know, soapy romantic comedy. I've seen enough to know what was gonna happen. Characters, they fall in love, they know each other, you know, they probably met each other long ago, and then they reunite, and then something happens. They're doing good, and then something happens. They get in a fight, and then they make up. They get married, and then that was in the epilogue. Did I read it? Yeah. Got this one because of the cover. So I probably shouldn't be complaining. This is just a good read, but it was, yeah. Perenesi by Susanna Clark. Didn't understand this book. You're reading about the main character and how he's in this castle. He's in this situation and he doesn't know how he got there, but as the chapters progress, he's like learning about what happened. And I don't know if it was because I wasn't paying attention. I don't know if it was because it was worded a certain way, but I didn't get it. I didn't get the ending, and then I remember going on YouTube like trying to like figure it out. Then we read Bullet Train. It has to be one of my favorite books that I read. This book was so fun, and I got so excited when it was gonna be brought to the TV, and I saw the movie. It absolutely sucked. This is one of those books, like, it's not like Harry Potter, where, you know, Harry Potter was probably as good or as imaginative as the book. This was nothing compared to the movie. There's so much to be said about the characters to enjoy the movie 1,000 times more. It was such a roller coaster. Then I read Panenka, the little moral lessons in forgiving and forgiveness and life. I think there's a lot of quotes in here, and because there's a lot of quotes in here that I really like, I am gonna read it again. It made me cry at the end, and it was because it was really heartwarming to know that he had this person next to him. Let me see what I underlined. It says, "Aren't you afraid of failing? Letting everyone down?" Esther thought about it. Maybe it's important that other people learn how to handle disappointment. It's just little passages like that. We have, of course, the Song of Achilles. Honestly, I don't even know if I read this year, but if I did, I took out some books because I know, I was like, okay, no, for sure I didn't read that one this year. But this one, I don't think I read 2022 either. I think it was 2021, but who cares? Still one of the books that I give 5 stars, and I will continue to talk about it. I just love everything about it. I love the poetry in it. I love the scenery, I guess, the characters, and the, you know, the dimension of them. I think I read this in 2021, but it still feels vivid in my head, so I don't know. But yeah, those were all the books that I enjoyed. Some of them I enjoyed more than others, but either way, they all gave. So maybe this year I'll probably read more books, and then my list will be like, and then the accuracy of like least favorite book to most favorite book would like be more, you know, more accurate. Like, on to January TBR. So I actually have 4 books that I'm gonna try to push through for January. Right now I'm reading It Starts With Us. I literally finished 2022 with It Ends With Us, and I started this in 2023 with It Starts With Us. Starting the year with It Starts With Us. It's kind of going back and forth between Alice and Lily's point of view. I'm enjoying it so far. After that one though, I plan on reading Twisted Love, book 1 by Anna Huang. I've heard about this book a couple times. And I was like, you know what? Another romance, rom-com, I don't know what it's gonna be, but another like romance, like I'm gonna read it. So hopefully I like this one. After that one, I want to read this book that I thrifted, Ace Atkins, The Innocents. This one would have been $16 had I gotten it at Barnes & Noble or another store, but this one was $1. I think this is just a thriller one. I didn't read so much the synopsis. And then we have this thick book that we might not get through the whole thing of January, but I'm gonna really try to. IQ 84 by Haruki Murakami. It's a thick book. When I say thick, I mean it's a thick. Big Book Fear went out the window when I picked this up because I've liked some of his work so far. Kafka on the Shore, After Dark. I know I read another one. Kafka on the Shore, After Dark, and is that it? Okay, so apparently that's all I read. A love story, a mystery, a fantasy, a novel of self-discovery, a dystopia to rival George Orwell's IQ 84 is a tremendous feat of imagination from one of our most revered contemporary writers. I'm really excited to read this one. I've heard that it was kind of weird, but you know, when you get into Haruki Murakami's books, from the 2 books that I read so far, one was recommended by Namjoon, Kafka on the Shore, you kind of get like punched in the face with the weirdness. When you pick up a book, you shouldn't have any expectations because those expectations will probably always be shattered. That is the January TBR. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for watching. Those are the books that I read in 2022. Those are the books that I'm going to start reading this month. I'll catch you on some other part of the internet or another video to come.